What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with yours, Comp. And
Thimble full of semen.
today's film is
Misery, 1990.
Misery 1990, directed by Rob Reiner, starring James Caan and Kathy Bates, based on a novel by Stephen King, written by the screenplay is written by William Goldman. After a famous author is rescued from a car crash by a fan of his novels, he comes to realize that he cares. Oh God, I'm just like already laughing. He comes to realize that the care he is receiving is only the beginning of a nightmare of captivity and abuse. Who wrote that tagline? Get out of here. Anyway, I was just laughing because I was thinking of Rob Reiner. And I can imagine, like,
what about him?
he was Meathead from All in the Family, so I can imagine Archie Bunker going, "Oh, jeez, look at this girl," doing that, just watching the movie. If it was Edith, and she breaks Archie Bunker's feet, and she's like, "You know how they stopped the slaves from leaving Archie? Oh, jeez, would you stop that?" And then she just breaks his feet. And he goes, "Oh, jeez." And you see, like, Sammy Davis Jr. walk by. I can't even attempt any fucking impressions today. This is horrible. Oh, very good.
That was a good job.
So,
I got your references.
So why did you decide to review this? This is like two in a row Stephen King movies. An actual good one this time.
What was the other one we did?
Did you already wipe it out of your mind last week? Take a guess.
I don't. Oh, Dark Tower. That's not a Stephen King movie. That was garbage. That doesn't count.
Oh, brother. Anyway, so why did you pick this film, Misery?
Because it's a great movie.
I thought it was because I never saw it. That's why.
Well, that was part of it, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's also a good movie.
This is a seminal or seminal Stephen King classic horror film adaptation. One of the highbrow Stephen King films or novels that people enjoyed a lot. I never read the book Misery. I've only read a handful. I only had read a handful of Stephen King's books, and one of them, actually half of them, I guess I've been listening to the audiobooks because like 8 of them were obviously the Dark Tower audiobook. That ended up being a big waste of time. Especially after that movie, because that movie was better than the books.
Shut up.
There was also what else did I read of his? Holy Christ! I listened to it. That was a good one, and apparently the movie coming out is very good. Is it apparently very good, or are they saying it's very good? They're saying it's a high-end horror, like it's really good. But you know how people are. I mean,
I think that it will be a passable mainstream horror.
That's probably what it is. Yeah, because I mean that's a movie with kids running around. Speaking of kids, I just read this in the news that they were supposed to, thinking of going back to one of our older episodes, they were supposed to hold a screening for a certain movie called Jeepers Creepers 3.
Oh, I heard, and there's a big protest. I like that transition. Speaking of kids.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. What do you think about threats of protesting lead to cancellation of Jeepers Creepers 3 premiere screening? This is on horrormovies.ca. You can see it on Dread Central and Movie.
I tried to be like, oh, that's
Devil's
stupid.
Advocate?
I tried. I really tried to see it from both views because my immediate reaction was, oh, come on, stop being stupid and sensitive. But then it's like, oh, yeah, wait, we're going to reward a pedophile with, like, fame and fortune. But then at the same time, he did serve his time, but his time was like bullshit. He did like no time.
That's true. Yeah. Well, if anybody doesn't know the history of Victor Salva, or as I like to call him, Victor Salivate, he's a director.
Butthouse.
He's a director. Yes, Butthouse, starring Michael Jackson, the greatest joke in the history of I've ever heard that I never made. He's the director of the film Jeepers Creepers, which is actually a pretty good. The first half of that movie is like really good. It's about these.
I like the whole movie.
It's about these two college-age people. It stars Jeremy. I forget the actor's last name. He's porking that actress with the big eyes with the blonde hair. Oh, she's so cute, but I forgot.
He's also in Tusk. Jeremy Long.
Yes, him. I remember. He's very good in the movie. He and his sister go driving and they get menaced by this guy in a truck. Especially, it was sort of, I guess, semi-based on a Unsolved Mysteries true life story where this couple were driving down a wheat field or something like that, down the road, and they saw this guy pulling bloody clothes out of the back of his car, and they decided to be nosy and drove back and called the cops on him and got him arrested. So in the movie, the two people, they drive off and they get menaced by this truck, and they see this place where he was dumping a bag down a chute, and they find out that it's like people's bodies inside of this, makeshift house of horrors. And it's actually the first hour of that film is excellent. But he got in trouble.
But the man who made it is a pedophile.
He's a pedophile, and he videotaped himself. I don't know whether I think he was performing oral sex on a young boy who was the star of the fantastic movie Clown House, which is I would. That
was a shitty movie.
It was a pretty horrible movie, yeah. But the best part of that movie, because Clown House dealt with claustrophobia, which is a fear of clowns, and the main actor of that film, the director Victor Salva, molested. And the best part of that movie is when the kid freaks out in the big tent, remember? And the kid, like, the clown goes up to him and the kid runs out of the way, screaming. That's the greatest scene in horror movie history. Anyway, the reason why I beat that up is because Victor Salva's got in trouble because they're protesting his new movie. So I just want to know what Danny's thoughts on it, because they had to.
I think that I don't know. I think that pedophiles should have their fucking like junk cut off. So, I think a protest is the least punishment this guy could get.
Yeah, I think that there's something about that where it's like. I guess he didn't really serve his time, but I guess if you can make movie studios,
he got a year and a half or something crazy, but it's because he's fucking rich. It has nothing to do with
it shows you how sort of I don't want to say I almost wanted to say liberal minded, because we're not a conservative show, because fuck conservatives and liberals, but the fact that no offense, of course. But the fact that they were like, as long as they can make our money for our studios, we'll let pedophiles and rapists make these movies and shit. We can't shun them. Because there's people, nowadays there's people, if they say even a sexist comment about like the way somebody dresses, they're fired and they're like put online to like, don't ever work again. Now you have to change your whole life. But this fucking guy who fucked a kid or fucked around with a kid he's able to work with millions of dollars of a budget.
Successful millionaire. Good for him.
And it's just funny because if you actually physically see how Victor Salva looked, he looked like a fat weirdo when he first started out, and now he like a Pokemon. He evolved into a super like pedophile looking man, like thin with the mustache and everything. It's very disturbing.
It's his final form he's in right now.
And his final form is just like those little those things that you hang over a child's like cradle. The thing that twirls around with the little toys on it and stuff. That he becomes that with a penis.
He becomes a mobile.
Yeah, mobile, and then his penis is hanging out of the middle of it. Anyway, back to this film Misery, because there's not that much to talk about this film. But Misery, this film from 1990, like we say, it's a high-end adaptation of one of his high-end books.
And I think it's a pretty good. It's very loyal to the book from my memory. It's been a long time since I read the book.
I know the difference is they chop off his feet instead of breaking his feet, and we'll get to that.
She doesn't chop it off. She severs it, but it doesn't come all the way off from my memory.
Hey, might as well. I mean, you can't walk with that anymore. You got to get your foot chopped off after that. But apparently, like when you think of high-end Stephen King adaptations, you think of stuff like Stand By Me, the Green Mile,
Shawshank.
And the Shawshank Redemption, stuff like that. I can't think of. And the Langoliers, and when
Langoliers is amazing.
Yes, the best special effects of all time with Balki Bartokomous. I remember seeing that. That was
minus the horrible CGI.
I remember watching that on TV when I saw it. Like I saw it actually on television. And I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I was like, "What is?"
But you know what? It's so bad that you could almost imagine that maybe they really do look that way, and
like it would make sense. Like if it's bizarre that that this isn't like in Langoliers, what happens is these group of people get stuck on a plane.
We're reviewing.
I know,
movie,
but I mean we'll get to Misery, but whatever. They get stuck on in a tarmac on this plane that I guess it must have went through a time warp.
Don't ruin the movie for that.
Whatever, and then they get
Let
chased.
them watch it.
They get chased by Pac-Man, but it's the worst CG like Pac-Man in the history of the universe. And I remember seeing it in television, going, "What the fuck is these graphics?" Like I don't know. I didn't know what other movies I saw that had graphics at the same.
Mortal
era.
Kombat, Reptile.
Yeah, that was horrible. The part that bothers me the worst about Mortal Kombat was the scene where Shang Tsung tells Reptile to go, and he looks, and Reptile jumps, and then Shang Tsung takes like 5 seconds to look where he jumps, and I was like, "This is a movie, right?" Like the editors saw that. And they still let whatever. So Misery is this movie about what, Danny?
It's about this guy Paul Sheldon, who's like, I guess maybe Stephen King was kind of writing about himself.
Stephen King, I think the best Stephen King books are the ones where the main characters are a writer, so he can like self-insert.
There's a lot, or an English professor. He has a lot of those too.
That's true. What was the one for the
So
mist?
basically, he's got this guy who writes this very popular kind of a series, like a trashy series.
Are they
that you
like
could probably
period
find in, like, a
romance novels? I
supermarket.
guess like period romance novels.
Yeah,
there's
like
a
period romance novels, soap operas, stupid shit happen. In the book Misery, I remember that it was really funny actually, like the descriptions of things that happen. Like at one point, something
is it like
about,
over the top kind of thing?
Yo, it's really silly. Yeah, at one point she gets like bees like surround her and sting her, like something really stupid like that. Like it's purposefully bad.
Oh, so they
the way he writes
in the
it.
book they actually have excerpts from the book in it, sort of thing, or
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And
That's
they're like
interesting.
really stupid. This is my memory. Like this is like 10 years ago I read it, so I don't remember the details, but I remember that it was like, he was kind of having fun, like making a bad novel.
Oh, so he was
like,
having
within
fun
the
doing it
novel.
because apparently in the film Sheldon is a guy who wants to.
No.
be a real-
Stephen King was having fun.
Oh, I see.
Making this like popular series that's like actually really stupid. But yeah, it is supposed to be like a real series that people read. Anyway, so Annie Wilkes is his number one fan.
So
and finds him in a car crash.
Bates won an Academy Award for Best Actress for this film. That's crazy. I mean, that's good.
I think
'cause
that
she's
was
very
kind
good
of
in
like
this.
her breakout role.
It
I don't
was,
think
yeah,
she
it was because I
known.
mean she's essentially kind of been. It's true. Like once you. I guess once you're consistent and you win an Oscar, because that's why actors are so hardcore for like, because if you really think about it, actors they need to make money. This is what they like. I've known actors for a long time, and they have to be seen everywhere. I mean, it's a job where anybody can do it. It's almost like artists. There's so many people that can do it. You have to really fight for it, and you have to like almost debase yourself and humiliate yourself.
You got
in
like a
certain
million
points.
fucking people at all times.
Right.
competing
So when
for
you win an Oscar, you're sort of on easy street. You'll always work after you get an Oscar, unless well, for the most part, guys, women they get a short shrift because the whole age sexism sort of shit that happens with them. And I'm not trying to be some political asshole about it, but I'm just saying that once you
Why not?
but like you have to be a consistently good actor. So Kathy Bates has been lucky enough to she's also in Dolores Claiborne and stuff like that. She's on a new Netflix show.
Claiborne? Isn't it Claiborne?
Okay, she's also in some new Netflix show, which I don't hear it's very good.
She's been
It's
in American Horror
about
Story.
weed.
She
Yeah,
was
she's-
actually in The Office. That was a fun one.
Yeah, she's really underused in American Horror Story. She was great in the witch one, the one where she was an
Yeah,
evil,
she was really
she was
great
great
in
in that
that.
one. But then also, but you got to think of other actors that actually won Oscars and like
She makes a good Annie Wilkes, but the same way they did with Carrie, they really prettied up Annie Wilkes.
Oh,
in the
really?
movie. Yeah.
You think Annie Wilkes
She's
is
supposed to
pretty
be
in the movie?
like not pretty, but she's not.
She got you
Annie
hard in
Wilkes
the
is
pants?
supposed to be like a lot fatter and a lot
Oh, okay.
grosser.
So
And Carrie's supposed to be like really gross and
So
kind
is-
of like acne and all.
so
this stuff.
James Caan, have you seen James Caan in a lot of films? I'm trying to
I
think.
feel like I have, but I mean, I mostly know him from this.
James Caan was obviously the actor from the film The Godfather. He played Sonny Corleone. I never saw
Never
The
seen
Godfather.
that.
Yeah, me neither. It's apparently supposed to be the best movie of all time. and
Everybody,
you
every
and
time I
are
say I've
just
never
coming
seen it,
together.
people, you have to see it.
That's what do you think? That's like when I don't see a movie and you're like, hey, and then you have to make me review it because I fucking don't want to. So yeah,
Yep.
James Caan is a interesting. He's a very good actor. He's an interesting actor. He seems like a guy who'd probably slap the shit out of people. Like like if he's angry with you.
He could have used that for this role.
He's been coasting off of Godfather for a long time. Very good actor. He plays Paul Sheldon very well. He plays this guy who's sort of in the film version, at least what I've seen. I haven't read the book. He seems like a guy who wants to be an actual writer, but he's too busy having to sell his name on these cheapo sort of exploitative romantic novel. But he sells the book.
Well, that's why he kills her in the thing because he's fucking tired of it.
Yeah. So I mean, but he doesn't put it under a pen name. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you
Yeah.
do that if you were embarrassed about what you were writing? So I guess maybe.
Well, at
that's what
first he wasn't embarrassed, but then it became like he's like cast type into writing these stupid things.
he should have got out of this. He should have said, no, I use a ghostwriter, and then she would have, oh, okay, and then she lets him go. So
Right.
because you got to think.
And then he gives the name of one of his enemies, and she goes and tracks him down.
Who's that writer? There's a writer that's like as prolific as Stephen King, and in fact, Stephen King hates his guts. Who's that guy? I gotta know. He named the character. We talked about it. He named the character after him in It. He named one of the guys. You know, at the insane asylum where one of the guys was stuck in. The guy who was supposed to beat him with a bag of nickels.
James Patterson.
Is that Patterson? I could have sworn it's another guy with a K. Stephen King. Know. Anyway, I don't think. Yeah, it might. No, because Patterson isn't his name. No, it's. God damn it!
What it doesn't matter. Let's talk about this movie.
I know, because I'm gonna be obsessed about this. God damn it! Hell, shit. Not Stephen King. It's a guy who writes that book, Zoo. Please come to my brain. Tell me what it is.
He writes a book called Zoo?
Yeah, Zoo, a novel. Maybe it is James Patterson.
Okay. James Patterson.
No, then it's the guy who writes the...
Michael Ledgwidge.
No, that was a horrible book. No, it's the book.
Oh, you're...
I know, I'm killing the episode. It's the novelist who writes... the hell with it, forget it. Anyway, so... he could have used a different character's name. What did you like about the actual novel as opposed to the film itself?
Well, the novel gets more into like how crazy Annie is, like a little bit more. Like at one point, it gets into detail about how she ties her hair around the drawers. So if you open a drawer, she'll see that the hair broke.
Oh, so it's like really... Well, yeah, I guess...
So she's like really... So that's how she knows that he got into her stuff, because she saw like there was a hair.
Yeah, Stephen King is like one of the... Not to use the... make it funny, but he's a king of like idiosyncrasies about like just small shit that doesn't matter. But I guess it does matter in a sense.
Well, I love that stuff.
And I think that, even in the film, like once I saw that part where he's walking around in the house and he knocks that little penguin off and he puts it the opposite direction. I was like, that's coming back to get you, asshole. Like, I knew he was going to come back to get him. But what did you think of, how long ago did you see this film originally?
I guess probably when I was a child. I mean, I've seen it a few times throughout my life.
Like, were you actually, like, spooked about...
Is it Dean Koontz?
It is Dean Koontz. Dean Koontz is the writer that Stephen King hates. And
I didn't know that they hated each other. It's funny because they're both like really good horror movie guys.
Yeah, that's why he named an asshole character after Dean Koontz. Apparently, Dean Koontz is like as prolific as Stephen King with his books, but I don't think Dean Koontz has any books that are as well known as, say, The Shawshank Redemption, or have had as many popular sort of adaptations of it. But Dean Koontz
he's
is
labeled as a poor man's Stephen King. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, Koontz has like 200 books. Like whatever Stephen King has, Koontz has like 50 more books than him. But he has a following.
I've read some of his books. They're good. I read his book called Whispers. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you spoke about that.
And there's this one with like this really smart dog in it. Like anyway, so this book.
Just picture the dog with like fucking one of the detective hats on, holding a magnifying glass. But yeah, this movie, like, we're jumping around because I don't have much to say about this. Like I always tell Danny, I'm not into movies where characters are pretty much tied down for the most part of a film. And
but this is not like just like a torture porn. This is great.
Yeah, I think the fact is that I know he's not gonna get caught. Like, when he's mobiling around the house and stuff like that, and he's like getting away. But not. This is not for me to sound like I hated this movie. I actually liked the movie a lot, and I thought it was really well done. And I actually liked some of the side characters, and like Richard Farnsworth.
The sheriff is great.
I think that actor killed himself. Richard Farnsworth. I'm pretty sure the guy Buster.
Really?
He's like a sheriff. And
I remember his wife is still alive, actually.
Yeah, he did kill himself. He was in a film. His last movie, what was it called? It was like what the hell is this movie? It was this pretty like
it's called The Straight Story.
The Straight Story, yeah. So it was like people were really all awesome about it, and then he had prostate cancer. And he shot himself in his ranch, so he killed himself. And I remember hearing about that. I was like, God damn, that sucks.
It's such an easily curable
Prostate cancer?
Form of-
No, I think he might have
Yeah.
had the really like bad prostate cancer. Like I guess he might not have checked on it.
Oh, okay.
So metastatic prostate cancer might be one of
I
the
don't
worst
know.
ones.
I don't know.
So yeah, they said if you everybody go get your assholes checked when you're in your 50s. Men
Go
at
get those
least.
buttholes checked.
Men, get your assholes checked when you're 50.
No,
Don't
I'll
worry
check
about
the
it.
women.
You'll check
I'm
the-
actually a prostate doctor. Come here, women.
It's gonna be the biggest lawsuit in history. So what happens is, so he's playing Buster, which is the town sheriff. It's a very small town. It's really like they actually have a store where they sell paper, a specific paper to typewrite and stuff like that. And he's just checking around because this is a pretty high-profile guy to get lost in your town after this huge snowstorm. And I like how it goes straight into like 15 minutes in the film. Is when this guy's car, swerves off the road into the thicket of the forest and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that just brings us right into it.
And that shows you it was a white man listening to primarily black music. He was
punished for cultural appropriation.
he was listening to good black music, and a white man shouldn't do that. It's very racist of him. So
he got his punishment.
So he had a white woman hit him and break his feet.
White on white crime.
But you liked Annie Wilkes in the movie though, right? Like you didn't find her annoying or anything?
Yeah, no, I like her a lot, but I just
you weren't rooting for her though.
No, I kind of am.
Oh, really?
I always kind of root for the bad guys.
Did you think like Paul Sheldon doesn't come off as a piece of shit in the movie? Like he doesn't come off like usually movies like this where a person is suffering. Well, I can't really say that because
he's not a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's just cocky. But at least in the book, he was a little cocky from my memory. But no, he's not bad in this. Like, you're not wanting him to get hurt. It's just I like cool villains, and Annie Wilkes is a cool villain.
Okay, Buster's wife was played by what's her name? Frances Sternhagen. Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff. Like I've seen.
Yeah.
Once you see her face, and then like Paul's. What was his manager or his?
She looks so happy
his agent,
on her IMDb.
Lauren Bacall was like a real sex pot from the 1950s. She is smoking hot. Oh, she was born in 1924. She died in 2014.
Yeah, she's super hot.
And her headshot on IMDb. Her headshot is the one from like the 1940s. So she's smoking hot in that. Like God, time is a real bitch. Yeah. It really, truly.
I wish I could be a time traveler and go have sex with old school women.
Do you think she would
let
you?
And then tell them, and then I can go and see them when they're old and see if they remember me.
But how would they think about you the way you're speaking? Say, because you're from this year, and you have a very nebbishy, cartoonish way of talking. Would you do the voice?
The way they talk. I would take it on. Like, hey, darling, how you doing?
Lauren Bacall. She's like,
that's me.
I mean, but you gotta get the clothing. I guess clothing was like 5 cents in the 1940s or something. You get a nice whole suit for $18
now.
Yeah, you get like a whole suit for $18. And then she'll be like, what are you doing here, sailor? And you'd be like, well, I just want to talk to you about seeing something in my pants. And then you just like...
And then you know what I would do? After I'm done with that, I would take a lot of money and put it in a savings account where it would collect interest until now.
Who the fuck would look in... Wouldn't they have to, keep an eye on that? I don't know.
I would make it in the name of my grandpa, and then I would travel 20 years or 30 years in the future...
But what if you are your grandpa and you didn't fuck the person in time?
I feel like we're doing a Futurama episode.
So,
Actually,
God, the worst show ever. So, anyway,
fuck you.
All right, it's like The Simpsons, but not funny. How about that?
Oh God.
So anyway, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this episode.
Blaspheme.
I'm very tired. Anyway, so this film, I don't know what to really talk about this film. You ask me questions because I don't know what the fuck to think about.
I mean, it's a good movie.
This is a mess of an episode.
You get to see like the slow progression of him realizing, whoa, this woman's actually fucking nuts. Because at first, it's totally normal.
Was there stuff that you didn't like about this film that they got wrong compared to the book?
No, I mean, I wish they would have gone a little more into how crazy she is. But I actually like that they did the hammer instead of the axe on the foot.
Okay. So that was a pretty rough scene. I remember as a kid, I didn't want to watch the scene because it's not a. it's much more disturbing that it's not like just a foot getting chopped off. It's like seeing the foot get bent the wrong way. Because obviously when you see
like Gumby, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, when you see, and they only show the first foot, they don't show the second. When it cuts to the actor's face, James Caan, and he's a really good actor. Being in
just
pain,
seeing her holding
like
that giant hammer is so scary.
And they have the music playing at the same time, and she's like going berserk and stuff like that. But there's something to say about violence where it's graphic violence, but it's not bloody violence. That's even more fucked up. It's like that movie I was thinking about a while back. That movie that we saw about the couple in the car that was lost in the woods. I forgot what that was called. Where
I don't remember.
the bad guy. He snaps the guy's wrist downward, like he presses his hand inward and cracks his wrist that way. And I remember seeing that going, Jesus Christ.
Oh, is that where they just keep, hitting dead ends and turning around?
Right, yeah, and that psychopath was telling them, hey, come this way, but they just lead them around in circles, and then he, snaps that guy's hand. I can't think of the name of that movie for the life of me.
They didn't have a GPS or cell phone service?
Yeah, whatever. The movie was okay, but that part fucking
This is why we
me.
need satellites that are just, giving free Wi-Fi at all times.
I think it was in Ireland or England or something like that. Anyway, so this film, it does...
Savages over there.
It's... Good Lord. It is a great film. I enjoyed it. I understand why it's such a high pedigree of a film. What did you think of Rob Reiner's direction of the movie? It was one of those films where the opening credits were a little strange because they look like television movie credits. Like, they don't make credits like that anymore, sort of thing.
It's old school. I think he did a really good job. He got it, nice and slow.
I'm trying to think of what else did Rob Reiner, what else did he direct? I was about to say Rob Zombie. If Rob Zombie directed this, it would have been 70s music and
Spinal Tap.
Guys with Spinal Tap is actually a very good movie. That's a movie a comedy movie where people say, "Oh, it's so great, it's great," and then you're like, "Oh, it can't be that fucking good," because it's it's an old film, it's old comedy stuff, but then you watch it, and it's it actually is very, very good. And
see what he directed, but it's not.
Yeah, he doesn't really. I think he's sticking more to television now. So
I know he's done a lot of stuff.
He did When Harry Met Sally, I guess. Which is that's pretty okay. That's pretty big. Misery, Spinal Tap.
That's a good one. Princess Bride.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. Pretty. I never saw that one. People say it's fucking amazing.
Yo, that's a good movie.
Yeah, he's pretty established, but I think he's one of those directors that might have, I guess, lost his touch.
And Dick Van Dyke Show. Holy shit, his dad.
Don't use that word. Don't use that word. So anyway, this apparently when he did Dick Van Dyke, he patted Mary Tyler Moore in the ass, and everybody was jealous about him because he was a teenager and he just grabbed Mary Tyler Moore's ass. But that was
was she cool with it?
I doubt it. I think she got mad at it. But that's back then when the guys were smoking cigars and were like, "Yeah, honey,
he's a pig. I do not approve of that."
And then Archie Bunker said, "Yeah, that's pretty good." What did you think of? You said you liked Annie Wilkes in this film. What were the subtle differences between the book and the film? What did she get right about the character?
A little. You're right. He did grab her, but it's a little too long ago for me to really remember. But I do remember they got more into her being insane and shit tying the hair on draws and her inner thoughts and stuff like that. And you get to learn a little bit about past crimes she committed more.
So she didn't know that he was around there writing, I guess. Annie Wilkes?
No.
It would just happen by chance that she... No, because
he was known to go to this town.
Oh, I would assume she would try to visit him or something.
I don't know. Maybe she never went that far. I'm pretty sure it was common knowledge that he went to this town to work. Of course she would probably see him around town, or I don't know. Maybe
what kind of dynamic do you think they were trying to get across with this film? With do you think there was sort of a male versus? Do you think there was some sort of male versus female thing going on? Do you think that there was something deeper in context?
No, I think it was Stephen King's fears about fucking he doesn't talk to his fans. I don't think he likes fans coming up to him.
Well,
really.
Who the fuck blames him? Yeah, have you ever?
Yeah, no, but I think this was kind of his idea of it.
Could you imagine when D. Snyder met you? He must have been trying to run out the house, right? Run out the building.
He was, and I was chasing him around, pretending to be Captain Howdy. It was great.
What a rush! Great movie. What a great horrible movie that was. I don't know what else to say about this film. I actually enjoyed it. It sounds like I don't give a shit this episode, but I did like the film. I think it's one of a higher end adaptation of Stephen King's movies. I guess it's hard to adapt Stephen King's books when when the latter
Well,
of his stuff
like
is so
for
fucking
example,
strange.
with Dark Tower, when
You can't really adapt that, I guess. Like, I mean,
well, you can, you just have to like try it all.
I think about like the It coming up, the It remake. I guess you would have to try for the Dark Tower, but the It remake coming up, like how are they gonna do? You know, a giant turtle in outer space talking to you through your mind? Like they're not gonna do that.
They could do all sorts of things. They don't have to make it perfect adaptation. It's just more catching the feeling of it and some basic points, which Dark Tower didn't do at all. And this
I mean, you can't really expect a one-for-one conversion of a novel to a film because that's what adaptations.
Like anything resembling the original material would be great.
I was just laughing watching you watch the Dark Tower, and you said that's not true. That's not happening. That's not true. And I'm like, it's not. None of it's true.
Was I saying that?
You were saying it's not true, and I was like, it's not a fucking not reality because it's not true. Of course, it's not true. But the fact that you were so furious saying it's not true, it's not true. It's almost like you saw some news or something of somebody that got killed, and you were like, that's not true. It can't be real. I guess you were watching somebody get killed.
Well, because they would show like Randall Flagg like stop breathing and then like walk away. It's like that doesn't happen. What the fuck is that?
It's just a line that's not true is the best part of that. But I think that the bigger story obviously is like meeting your fans and his fear and Stephen King's pinpoint precision of finding something scary within anything, obviously. And Stephen King is great at writing villains, essentially. I mean, we're taking away from the screenwriter, but
I love
I'm sure
his villains a lot.
Obviously, the screenwriter's screenplay was informed by Stephen King's book, so that's why we're mostly giving the credit to Stephen King. But his villains are very good in all his books. Like, he really makes you hate their guts.
I would say Annie Wilkes in the movie is a really good Annie Wilkes. Like, it catches it.
Yeah, I think
she's so creepy.
I think for what it is, like it does feel like it's a short film. I mean, it's probably like an hour and 40 something minutes or so, and it does.
I can't believe Rob Reiner grabbed Mary Tyler Moore's ass.
Can you imagine what a pig? He's a scumbag. That's why Sally Struthers left him.
I would never be happy for him for doing such a horrible thing.
Maybe she was, maybe she's into the young boys, sort of like all those teenage teachers.
This is a form of victim blaming you're doing right now.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't mean to, friend zone myself. I don't know what the ladies say.
He shouldn't have grabbed the cock-a-doodle ass.
I give this movie an 8 out of 10. Trying to drug your captor and then hilariously she in a slapstick sort of way getting the candles that you asked her to get knocks over the drink that has all the drugs in it.
Yeah, that was. Oh god, that was like a painful to watch scene,
I wonder if she knew. You know what I mean? Like she knew.
Nah, she did not.
You don't think so? Oh.
She would have killed him.
He should have just done. He should have just done that again. He should have just done that all over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it took him like fucking days to get to that point.
Good. He could have done it again. He's a lazy fuck. Fucking writers. But go
imagine, imagine she did drink it, but it didn't do anything to her, like Rasputin, like how he can't.
No, imagine it made her really like rock her clitoris really rock hard. That it shot out of her
like
pants and she wanted to fuck him.
He hasn't been taking the pills this whole time. It turns out she was giving him like what do they call the sex drugs?
Viagra, like low grade Viagra.
No. Like it's drugs that make you horny. Aphrodisiacs.
Oh, okay.
This whole time she was giving him aphrodisiacs and like wondering why he's not getting turned on by her
because he's actually homosexual.
And then she puts it in the drink and she turns into, you remember in Roger Rabbit the fake Jessica Rabbit chasing him and trying to kiss him? She turns into like that sort of thing, like chasing him around and he's just hobbling away from her.
Good lord, let's end this episode already. Go ahead. What is your rating for this?
I'm going to give this movie 9 out of 10. Listening to Liberace while celebrating the rebirth of misery.
And with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky.
The horror deconstruction.